dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:32 on this Tuesday, June the 18th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. It's going to be a wet one. It's probably going to be a wet one for the next couple of days, but hey, it's springtime in the mountains, and that's just what we come to expect. The good news is, let's bring Brandon this morning, is Brandon, when it's raining, we don't have to worry about wildfires, but we do have to worry about some mudslides, and we have seen a couple of them as a result of the heavy rain we've been seeing.
Mudslides and flash flooding. So again, we're watching both those today. That flash flood watch continues until 8 o'clock for most of the region. Let's show you what's going on currently on Live Pinpoint down the radar, and you can see things are fairly active in some areas this morning, especially in the parts of Letcher and Pike counties in southwest Virginia and over toward the I-75 corridor. Temperatures in the mid to upper 60s and right at 70 in some areas this morning. Your appcast for today, you can download that for free on all the app stores, on all the platforms, and you can see we're looking at temperatures in the upper 70s, but showers and storms will be around all day long. The rest of the forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Will?
Alrighty, Brandon, thank you. Well, a man and woman are dead in what deputies are describing as a murder-suicide in Breathitt County. James Hale's brother went to the couple's home Monday morning after not hearing from them for some time. When he went inside, deputies say he found his brother and girlfriend dead. Officials say the investigation shows 55-year-old Alice Harold shot and killed her boyfriend before killing herself. Investigators say the shooting may have happened 7 to 10 days before the couple was found.
The possible running theory is that Alice shot James with a .22 and then switched handguns, secured a .40 caliber high point pistol, and took her own life.
Officials say there are no signs that anyone else was involved in the shooting. Both of the bodies are being sent to Frankfurt for autopsies. We are told James Hale leaves behind 3 children. He was 57 years old. Well, officials have identified the 2 people killed in a crash in Pulaski County yesterday morning. We learned Deanna Cheney was the woman who was killed. She was a postal carrier at the Eubank Post Office. Her granddaughter, 5-year-old Kaylee Hobbs, also died. The crash happened on US 27 in Burnside near Walnut Street. We are told another woman was injured in the crash, but she is expected to be okay. The cause of the crash is not known, but police believe wet roads might have been a factor. Firefighters are investigating a suspicious fire that burned down a home in the Chavies community of Perry County. The fire started in an abandoned home around 6:30 Monday evening. It only took firefighters about 15 minutes to contain, but the home was destroyed. All power to the home was cut off. No injuries were reported, and the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Well, we lost a mountain legend this weekend. King Kelly Coleman is considered one of, if not the greatest ever to play high school basketball here in the Bluegrass. In October of 2005, at his home in Wayland, then WYMT sports director Brian Milam spent more than 6 hours with the man they simply called the King.
They were talking basketball. Russians love basketball like we do. And the Russians were talking about, and my nephew said, well, you know, I have an uncle that was, you know, he played a little basketball. Said, you probably never heard of him. Says Kelly Coleman. He said, the guy said, King Kelly Coleman? So somebody in Russia knew who I was too.
It is impossible to find someone who loves Kentucky high school basketball to have never heard the name King Kelly Coleman. His name conjures images of greatness, but his story is also one of myth, vulnerability, and humility. 50 years after his most legendary feat, he never understood the acclaim which surrounded him.
What it is, I don't know. Possibly a lot of it could be because a lot of the records that I had then, they're still standing. That could be probably a part of it, I would say.
The numbers Coleman put up during the seasons between 1954 and 1956 are astronomical. More than 4,000 career points, 185 points in 4 state tournament games, 75 points and 41 rebounds in one matchup, all of which led to him being called the King, a name which took decades for him to become comfortable with accepting.
Also by a king, you think of what a king is, you know, and I thought it might add more pressure than I already had, so I didn't like it. I didn't like it up till the last few years, to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me now, but even up into my adulthood, I didn't like the game. Didn't like it at all.
In fact, Coleman had so much acclaim, Adolph Rupp called him the greatest high school basketball player he had ever seen. And that may have rubbed some people the wrong way.
You know, I kind of blamed a lot of the booing on the old ex-Kentucky players. I blamed a lot of that on them, and I would never went down there under no circumstance.
Many of the derogatory comments and the jeers he heard as a high school player turned into cheers later in life, and it seemed to ease some of the scars of his teenage years.
You know, to me, basketball was a game, and I played it. And I'm glad they feel that way about me, but if they didn't, I'd still be what I am right now. It wouldn't matter.
Now, for those who knew him, Coleman's life was about more than just basketball. He enjoyed telling stories and inspired many young athletes right here in Eastern Kentucky. WYMT's Macy Marie went to the old Wayland Gym where he played during high school and talked to one of Coleman's closest friends about the man he was in more recent years.
Remembering a legend.
He went out and he performed better than these people expected, and so that's just an amazing feat in itself.
J.R. Van Hoos says he grew up hearing stories about King Kelly Coleman.
That's what I want people to realize. He was definitely a great person.
Van Hoos, like Coleman, earned the title of Mr. Kentucky Basketball. Their love for the sport is how their friendship started.
He wasn't a basketball player. He was my friend. He was my very best friend.
The pair met long after their days on the court. But Coleman always enjoyed telling his basketball stories.
Since coal mining and the coal industry was known as King Coal, he became known as King Kelly, since he was the greatest thing to come out of the mountains since coal.
Friends say Coleman lived up to his title and inspired young athletes to do the same.
Everybody wanted to be a legend like him, and nobody's done it since.
But Van Hoos says what he will miss the most.
Very caring, loving, humorous individual.
Is not the basketball star.
I think a lot of people didn't get to see that side of him, and so I'm very thankful that I was able to experience that.
But the friend he knew.
I'm definitely going to miss him.
In Floyd County, Macy Marie, WYMT Mountain News.
King Kelly Coleman's visitation will be held at the Wayland Gym from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday. The visitation will continue at the gym at 10 a.m. on Saturday. The funeral will be held at noon Saturday at Hall Funeral Home in Martin. Meanwhile, the standoff with Iran escalated Monday. Tehran said it plans to violate the terms of its 2015 nuclear deal by exceeding its enriched uranium limit. Iran's atomic energy spokesman said the uranium would initially power a research reactor, but he said it might eventually be enriched to a level just below weapons grade strength if the European Union fails to negotiate a new nuclear deal by July 7th.
We are suspending, we are not revoking the commitments, we are not removing the commitments.
Now, the National Security Council issued a statement in response to Monday's developments that said, quote, President Trump has made it clear he will never allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons. Now, because of the latest developments in Iran, it appears more U.S. troops will head to the Middle East soon. Pentagon officials say the deployment includes security forces and troops for additional surveillance and intelligence gathering in the region. Well, it's 6:41 this morning. Let's toss it over to Brandon on the weather wall to get a breakdown on the severe weather alert day. Brandon?
Things continue to stay soggy this morning as you head out the door, so rain gear is a must today, and make sure you're taking it easy because some visibility problems are out there and some wet roads. We take a look at those visibility numbers, and we're seeing lowered numbers across most of the areas that are seeing rain right now, and also some fog, so be careful of that. Temperatures in the mid to upper 60s and low 70s across the board, haven't moved much. The out the door forecast features those rain chances off and on throughout the day, especially this afternoon, as highs top out right around 77. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, we will have stories that y'all are checking out on WYMT.com next. As always, thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning. Some of those stories coming up is one act of vandalism leads to dangerous driving conditions for some drivers right here in the mountains.